Good evening, New Jersey. I'm Haylee Ficuciello for Englebrook Independent News. Last week was primary election week here in the Garden State. Millions of dollars were spent. Countless campaign advertisement flooded our television, phones, and mailboxes. Candidates traveled the state asking for voters for their support. And then came the moment that matters the most in any democracy, casting the ballot. Now, what I'm about to tell you is not something I read on social media. It's not something I heard from a friend of a friend. It's not some anonymous tip sent to our newsroom. These are first-hand experiences involving two members of Englebrook Independent News during the New Jersey primary election. On Sunday evening, I voted early at the designated polling location here in New Jersey. I approached the check-in table, provided my name and address, and was processed for voting. No identification was requested. That, by itself, is not necessarily unusual under New Jersey election laws. In most cases, registered voters are not required to present identification every time they vote. But what happened next caught my attention. The poll worker reviewed my information, looked at me, and remarked, "Oh, you're a Republican?" She then proceeded to explain how easy it would be for me to change my party affiliation. Now, let me be clear. I am not accusing this individual of violating any law. I am not claiming that she attempted to influence my vote, but I am asking a legitimate question. Should poll workers be commenting on voters' political affiliation at all? Most Americans would likely assume election workers are expected to remain neutral and professional while administering the election. When a voter walks into a polling place, they should feel confident that politics is left at the door, regardless of whether the voter is a Republican, Democrat, Independent, Libertarian, or unaffiliated. The experience should be the same. Yet I left the polling location wondering why my party affiliation became a topic of discussion in the first place. Then came Tuesday. Our founder, chief executive officer, and executive editor, Art Fletcher, voted at his assigned polling location elsewhere in New Jersey. According to Art, the experience raised a different set of questions. He approached the check-in table, provided his name, provided his address, received instructions from him to his voting booth, and once again, no identification was requested. Now, before anybody rushes to social media claiming we're alleging fraud, let's be perfectly clear. We are not. We're describing what happened, nothing more, nothing less, but we're asking questions that many voters across New Jersey were asking for years. Questions about confidence, questions about verification, questions about consistency, questions about whether the current system inspires trust among voters of all political backgrounds. And those questions become even more relevant when New Jersey is home to a substantial undocumented immigration population, estimated by various organizations and research groups to numbers in the hundreds of thousands. To be absolutely clear, undocumented immigrants are not legally permitted to voting in federal or state elections. That is the law. The question is not whether they are legally allowed to vote. The question many voters ask is how election officials ensure only eligible voters cast ballots and how the verification process is communicated to the public. Transparency matters. Public confidence matters, trust matters, and trust isn't created by telling people to stop asking questions. Trust is earned through openness, accountability, and verification. Now, critics may immediately respond by saying the election safeguard already exists, and perhaps they do. And if those safeguards are working exactly as intended, then election officials should have no problem explaining them to the public in a clear and transparent manner. Because confidence in elections should never depend on a blind faith. It should depend on understanding. It should depend on accountability. And it should depend on voters knowing exactly how systems protect the integrity of every ballot cast. Adding to those concerns are the documented election-related prosecutions, guilty pleas, and election fraud cases that have surfaced in New Jersey over the years. No, those cases do not provide widespread fraud. No, they do not provide elections are illegitimate, but they do demonstrate an important reality. Election-related crimes can and do occur, and when they do occur, the public has every right to ask whether sufficient safeguards are in place to prevent them. That isn't extremist, that is common sense. Over the next 2 months, Englebrook Independent News will be conducting an extensive review on New Jersey election system. We have submitted public records requests, We have obtained voter registration information through lawful channels. We are reviewing records received from all 21 counties pursuant of New Jersey Open Public Records Act. We are examining election procedures, voter registration practices, documented prosecution, guilty pleas, administrative safeguards, and public confidence in the electoral process. Let me emphasize something important. We are not accusing any individual of wrongdoing. We are not alleged widespread fraud. We are not claiming that any specific voter cast an illegal ballot. We are certainly not reaching conclusions before the evidence is reviewed. That is not journalism, that's activism. What we are doing is asking questions and following the facts wherever they lead. And if the system is working exactly as intended, we'll report that. If the weakness exists, we'll report that too. If concerns raised by voters are unfounded, we'll report that as well. Because our job is not to protect a political party, our job is not to advocate a political agenda, our job is not to tell voters what they should think. Our job is to investigate, verify, and inform. And that's exactly what we're going to do. For now, however, we leave you with a simple question. If confidence in elections is essential to democracy, should citizens be discouraged from asking questions about how elections are being conducted, or should transparency be welcome? We'll let you decide that. For Englebrook Independent News, I'm Haylee Ficuciello. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe as we continue our investigation into New Jersey's election system in the weeks ahead. The facts matter, the evidence matter, and above all, the truth matters. Good night.